everyone that's responsible for this murder should be held accountable for their role. Not just Charlie, not just the two killers that came here and shot him. Everyone that played a part in it should be held accountable.
The number of so-called coincidences pointing to Wendi Adelson's involvement in the plot to have her ex-husband killed and turned into lay ex is astounding. And during Donna Adelson's trial, new revelations were made that point towards Wendi's involvement. Remember, Wendi has not yet been charged in this case, but she has been named an unindicted co-conspirator by prosecutors. And in each trial, prosecutors put her on the witness stand as a witness for the state, under use and derivative use immunity. But they've also suggested that she was involved and that she was lying on the stand. Okay, so in this video, we'll cover a new fact learned during Donna's trial. A very important fact that, in context, seems incredibly incriminating. Hi, my name is Emma. I am a law student and I will be working on Mentor Lawyer's channels as a law clerk, a producer, and creator. So let's get started. Let us show you the key moment when this fact was revealed. And at the end, I'll break it all down for you. Here we go.
I want to ask you about an incident involving, I think the context is assessing Wendi's oldest child for gifted placement. Do you
Yes.
know where I'm going with that?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, could you tell the jury, please?
Wendi was looking to get her older son tested to see if he was gifted to get him placed in school. This is spring 2014. And I was trying to put her in touch with some people that could do that. And we were talking about that, and she asked me when children develop autobiographical memory.
Is your training or profession such that you have some knowledge that you could offer on that topic?
Your Honor, he's not been disclosed as an expert.
And you'll need to establish a foundation as to why this testimony could be given by this individual, Ms. Katherine.
I'm not offering it for its truth, Judge. It goes to Ms. Adelson's state of mind and motive.
Very well. As to that purpose, I will permit it. However, as to that limited issue only, can this be considered by the jury?
So, I mean, you're not an expert on children's autobiographical memories, are you?
Not really. That's in some of the textbooks I teach out of, but I think I can keep it out of the scientific realm and explain it commonsensically, which is how I responded to Wendi. Children at age 2 have amnesia, which most parents probably realize. Between 3 and 4, kids start to develop the ability to retain memories.
Jeff, this is expert testimony.
As to a specific thing that goes to the state of mind of the individual you are testifying about, Mr. Lacoste, you may speak. As to your knowledge of any literature or research on this matter, I do not need you to testify on that matter.
What is your profession? What is your background?
I'm a professor of social work. I teach mental health courses.
Okay. So, Wendi asks you what?
She asked me when kids develop memory. At what age will kids start to remember what happened to them when they were a kid?
And what was your answer?
I think I said 5 or 6.
Again, this is expert testimony.
Mr. Zalman, sit down. You may testify concerning not the truth of the matter asserted, but how this affected the state of mind of the heirs.
Your Honor, this has not been disclosed to the defense.
Please confirm. Then we'll take you to the jury room. Mr. Lacoste, if you can step down, please. step outside the courtroom doors. Don't discuss your testimony with anyone else. Kappelman, how long do you think it will take to find this portion of either the deposition or material provided in discovery?
Maybe another 10 minutes, Judge.
Very well. We'll take recess then until 9:40. Ms. Kappelman, did you find the information that you were seeking to
Yes,
elicit?
sir. I'm sorry I didn't have an answer for you. The case has had so many incarnations, it's hard for me to remember who knows what, but I am conceding the violation, certainly not intentional. I did not find it. Mr. Rashbaum did not depose this witness, so I'll move on.
Well, there's a defense requesting from the court to conduct a Richardson hearing.
It's not intentional. I would concede that. There are a lot of materials in here. I would just, if the state's going to move on, I don't think we need to inquire further.
Should I get the witness, Judge?
One moment, briefly, so the record is clean on this topic. I will find there has been a discovery violation with regard to the testimony of Jeffrey Lacasse on the subject matter of what was discussed with Wendi Adelson concerning any issues as to the children's memories. I will find this was inadvertent, as there have been, I believe this Kappelman is the 5th or 6th trial in this,
Only the 4th, Judge.
excuse me, the 4th trial that has occurred under this set of facts, and there has been a multitude of discovery or interviews or depositions of this witness, but specifically as to this defendant being able to depose this witness on this topic, that did not take place by prior counsel or current counsel. I will find it is trivial, and it has not had a prejudicial effect on the ability of the defense to prepare, since the state is conceding the matter, and no further examination on this topic will take place. The court will give a curative instruction to the jury for them to disregard and not consider as evidence in this matter any testimony that has taken place concerning a conversation between Wendi Adelson and Jeffrey Lacasse as to the children's memories. You may bring in the witness. They might be using the bathroom, but once they're ready, yep. You can come back to the witness stand, Mr. Lacasse.
Just for the record, I conferred with the defense counsel about the decision to do a curative instruction, even though it sounded like they weren't asking for it, and it sounds like they're in agreement with that procedure.
That's correct, Your Honor.
I wouldn't know why you'd have an adverse.
Well, there could be an argument that it draws more attention to the information, so I just wanted to make sure that their agreement was clear for the record.
Mr. Zelvin, do you wish to have the curative, or do you not?
The proposed curative is acceptable, Your Honor.
Very well.
Jury entering the courtroom.
Everyone can be seated. Members of the jury, before the examination of this witness continues, I am going to give you a brief instruction. The last objection that was raised by the defense, it is being sustained. You are to disregard any testimony that has taken place by this witness concerning the issues of any statements or any conversation he had with Wendi Adelson about her children's memories. You are not to consider this as a part of the evidence in this case.
Okay, so generally speaking, and we verified this, the National Library of Medicine and several studies cited that on average, children develop their first memories at age 3 or 4. However, children start to have autobiographical memories, meaning long-term memories for past events, around ages 5 to 7. Age 7 is considered the inflection point in which a child's memory becomes more adult-like. So now let's talk about the impact this information may have against Wendi and how this fact will be important if a case is filed against Wendi and how it was used at Donna's trial. First, let's talk about the boys. Wendi and Dan Markel had 2 boys. On the day of the murder, the eldest was 4 years and 11 months old, almost 5, and the youngest was 3 years old. The bottom line here is that whether or not the Markel boys remember anything about their dad is not the issue. What matters is Wendi's state of mind in the days before the murder. The fact that she was asking these questions to Professor Lacasse is significant. From the detectives and the prosecutor's perspective, this inquiry suggests that Wendi was concerned whether the children would remember their father, Dan Markel, and the trauma that they would go through after his murder. So while revenge is generally better served cold, this is not the case for Donna Adelson, meaning the Adelsons might have waited longer to kill Dan, but doing so earlier would lessen the possibility that the children would independently remember their father and the trauma of losing him. So the timing of the murder could have been driven by, 1, the family's desire to move Wendi and the kids to South Florida as soon as possible, 2, the desire to avoid Wendi being redeposed by Dan. 3, the desire to avoid a hearing on the pending motions against Wendi, including the motions seeking to limit Donna's unsupervised access to the kids. And 4, the desire to totally erase independent memories the boys may have formed of their time with their dad. As you may have noticed, the defense objected strenuously about this new testimony from Professor Lacasse. And they argued that something was not disclosed to the defense about the testimony. The jury was ultimately removed, and the court held what is called a Richardson hearing, which is an inquiry from the court about whether there was a discovery violation, and if there was, whether or not the proponent of the evidence will be able to use it. Here, after the jury was removed, prosecutor Georgia Kappelman conceded the point, indicated that the non-disclosure was not intentional, and simply agreed to move on from the issue and not inquire further. So let me now show you how the issue was used at Donna's trial during closing arguments. Here it is in the rebuttal portion of the argument.
Okay, I want to hit one more thing. Don't call time on me. 2 years after the murder, we've got 2 emails, 64T and 64I. The defense told you in opening that this defendant cares about others more than she cares about herself. The problem is that she decides what other people need, what's necessary for other people in their lives, and she is willing to justify whatever ends she thinks are needed, right? Any means to get to those ends are justified in her mind. The problem is she doesn't care about the collateral damage to get to her ends. The evidence has shown that this defendant, I think, did believe that Wendi and those boys were better off in South Florida. She thought that's what they needed. They would be better off with her, and she was angry that that couldn't happen. Dan Markel was the thing standing in the way. What was the cost of that to not only Dan Markel, but to those little boys? Those little boys lost their father. Look what she says in 64T. Children are 2 and 3. Children do not even have a memory of life before age 5 or 6. Look what she says in 64II when Wendi is concerned. This is 2 years after the murder. Her child is having trouble at school, crying because he misses his father. And this woman, this nice grandmother, innocent woman, says, quote, "I still do not believe that Ben is sad about his father." Quotations on the sad. 64II. "I still do not believe that Ben is sad about his father. I spend a minimum of 25 hours a week with him, and oftentimes more than that, including weekend times and sleepover days, and have never experienced a time when he was sad. I think it's just another phase of the many, many phases that kids go through. The problem is they have a highly intelligent and sensitive mom." She doesn't believe that this kid is sad because she can't take accountability for her own actions and the catastrophic consequences that this had on everyone's life in her family. Not just her son, not just her daughter, not just Rob, not just Dan Markel, but those boys who lost their father. It wasn't better for them to be in South Florida. It was better for them to have their father.
The defendant is guilty of first-degree murder. Mrs. Adelson, control yourself.
Okay, we are working on many more analysis videos and special cuts from the Donna Adelson trial. I hope to see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.